Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Wedding Crashers, starring Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, Rachel McAdams, Ela Fisher, Jane Seymour, Ellen Alperturni Dow, Keira O'Donnell, Bradley Cooper, Ron Canada, Henry Gibson, Jennifer Alden, Will Ferrell, and Christopher Walken, directed by David Dobkin. Now, I have seen this before, and it's been a while since I've seen it, so let's see if this refreshes my memory. Let's get into this movie. We open with John Beckwith, played by Owen Wilson, and Jeremy Gray, played by Vince Vaughn, talking through a divorce trial to get finalized as they bring up the courtship and the wedding, as they make an excellent point as they're located in Washington, D.C., as Jeremy hides a sleeping bag so he could sleep over at John's house for his birthday surprise. Anyways, while John's parents died a month before his birthday when he was a kid, and explains about who he would be interested in with his assistant Janice, and Jeremy tells John it's wedding season and prepares themselves as different identities to meet gorgeous women as John pretends to cry at one of the weddings, and have a great time. And these moments are good times to be set in a set of movie weddings until the bullshit speeches, like we lost a lot of good men out there as they crash one wedding after another. And it's kind of funny, but it's not laugh out loud hilarious, in my opinion. After they go to a lot of weddings and sleep with a lot of women, John feels exhausted from all the partying until Jeremy gets a wedding invitation from the daughter of Secretary William Cleary, played by Christopher Walken, with his daughter Christina getting married to Craig, as Jeremy talks John into going to that wedding, and John pretends to be in love with Claire Cleary, played by Rachel McAdams, while Jeremy pretends to fall in love with Gloria, played by Ela Fisher, aka Borat's ex-wife, I'll say it best, and takes the names John and Jeremy Ryan as their brothers from New Hampshire, as they pretend to be. Anyways, and I do like their characters, as they're likable. But is what John and Jeremy doing sound wrong? It does, as it makes up a storyline. Their Uncle Ned's kids, and I like how these actors portray the characters are as relatable as they are. They go through the wedding of Craig and Christina, while Claire, for some reason, laughs as there's nothing funny about getting two people married, as she says she has a tickle in her throat, but I found that to be bullshit. As John meets Claire pretending to be a psychic, while I believe that's bullshit too, as he's trying to impress her, and John meets and dances with the secretary's wife, Kathleen, played by Jane Seymour, while Jeremy impresses Gloria by putting together balloons for the kids, as a kid yells at him for asking for a balloon of a bicycle. And it feels like an R-rated raunchy humor from the 2000s. But this is better than most of the R-rated raunchy humor bullshit things I've seen in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years maybe. John meets Secretary Cleary while Jeremy dances with Gloria, as Secretary Cleary points out his son Todd in an unrated version. Remember, I saw this and took notes in the unrated version, to John, as he believes his art is crap in the unrated version, as he tries to take it easy on Todd, as Jeremy and Gloria lay down on the beach and talk some more about the young people in life, and she starts to kiss Jeremy while Claire interrupts John and her father and talk about true love, while Secretary Cleary talks with Christina and Claire, and Claire is writing a bad speech, as she said, and John says a better speech said by him, which made people laugh, while she heard crickets in her speech, in which John predicted, and he saved her ass on the speech, while Jeremy and Gloria humped each other's asses on the beach, as he learns it was the first time, and this was awkward for sure, but it works very well as an R-rated raunchy comedy. John meets Claire's boyfriend, Zach Lodge, played by Bradley Cooper, before he was ever famous in Hangover and other films, while Jeremy is afraid of Gloria, and she invites him to a cabin with the Clearys and asks her father while acting like a kid at Toys R Us, until she gets what she wants, while John needs more time with Claire. And when they get to the cabin, they play a game of football, as Jeremy gets hurt twice and falls on his ass, and Zach socks him down both times. And Bradley Cooper is a pretty good actor at both good guy and bad guys, as he pulls out the bad guy role pretty well. And Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn are a good comedic team, Jeremy is in a bad mood while he's bruised up, and Gloria tries to hump his ass again, and she acts like a psycho, and Secretary Cleary looks at Jeremy like he doesn't like him, and John and Jeremy prepare for dinner time by putting eye drops in Zach's drink, and they have a family dinner with the Clearys as it goes horribly, like Gloria rubbing on Jeremy's nut sacks. And while Jeremy is acting awkward as shit during that scene, Zach feels very bad in the stomach, and Grandma Mary, played by Ellen Albertini Dow, talking inappropriate at the dinner, and Todd overreacts about Grandma Mary calling him a homo. And this movie can be inappropriate, but that's what makes it pretty funny in my opinion. Forget all those other raunchy humor shit that's been coming out for the past 15 years. John feels Kathleen's hooters, and he feels awkward about it and bumps into Jeremy while John goes down to get some air with Claire, while Jeremy sees Grandma Mary in his bedroom and carries her to her room, while Claire says her family is strange, and John says they're nuts, but he loves it, and she cracks up, and she checks up on Zach as he's sick because of the eye drops, while he acts like a fucking asshole to her. And Gloria ties up Jeremy, which wakes him up, and she humps his ass as he's one lucky son of a bitch. Well, John isn't getting any with Claire because, remember, she's going out with Zach. As first he goes to her door, and he goes back, and eventually she goes up to John's room and wonders what's he up to, while Zach vomits in the toilet nonstop. And Todd gives Jeremy a painting he doesn't necessarily like, or actually he decides to keep it later in the film. And this is making some strange choices to make people laugh, like myself, as this movie made me chuckle. Don't get me wrong, it did. Next morning comes as John has made breakfast, and John falls for Claire while Jeremy wants to get the fuck out of there, until John brings up the rule number one as Jeremy eats breakfast in a different area, as Zach calls up a private agent to look up John and Jeremy as brothers, while still not feeling well, and the family goes out on the bay, which looks beautiful, as the cinematography is surprisingly not that bad, as I like the way this movie was shot. And when they get back to land, Zach wants to go hunting for some birds with just the guys, and I'm actually enjoying the movie thus far, as it's a nice, breezy 2-hour comedy. Now, admittedly, it's a little too long, as some of this could have been in the editing room floor. Jeremy gets purposely shot in the ass by Zach as he gets stitched up while he's pissed off. John goes with Claire to the beach and have a good time with each other, like playing a game I played in the past where they clap hands, clap the top of the hands, like that, you know, the one I just did there. And Owen Wilson and Rachel McAdams have chemistry, which works, while Vince Vaughn and Eli Fisher have chemistry, works well. Meanwhile, Zach announces his and Claire's marriage without a proposal, which is kind of not a proper way to get married to someone, while Gloria says she lied about her virginity. And this movie has held together well for the past 20 years. It's 20 years old at this point. John doesn't believe Zach is the right person for Claire, while Jeremy confesses he's falling for Gloria, while Zach learns John and Jeremy are wedding crashers and tells the whole family they're wedding crashers, as Claire is upset with John about it, and the Clearys kick John and Jeremy out of the house. And we move on to months later, as Jeremy, I think it's 2 months later now that I think about it, as Jeremy is forced into more crashing with John as he doesn't want to, and tells John to look into reality, as John disagrees with John. As John arrives without Jeremy and acts like a waiter to see Claire, but Zach beats the shit out of him and tells him if he goes anywhere near his fiancée again, he'll kill him, while a bunch of guys hold John. And I feel bad for John, but he might be taking things way too far, which makes sense. John finds out Jeremy is in love with Gloria, and John is depressed over a woman, and this is when I feel the editing in this movie can dial down a bit, as comedies don't work after 90 minutes. As John crashes into different parties and acts like a jackass, and Jeremy proposes Gloria's hand in marriage, and she accepts. And by the way, Jeremy did it in a proper way, I'll say. While Claire can't believe they're getting married, and she acts depressed because she's going to see John again, And Jeremy comes to John's house to sleep at his place and says he's getting married, and Gloria, and John kicks Jeremy out because he wants him to be his best man, and John decides to see Chaz, played by Will Ferrell, as a cameo and have a good time together. And I love Will Ferrell as Chaz, as he never fails to make me laugh, as I smiled when he's on screen. John crashes a funeral with Chaz, while John decides to go to Jeremy's wedding while crashing the funeral. And John gets to the wedding of Jeremy and Gloria, and he talks to Claire about how sorry he is until she almost walks away and confesses who he is and to not marry Sack. As Sack almost attacks John, because Claire can't marry Sack, until Jeremy beats up on Sack, and they leave the wedding all happily ever after. And the climax was cliche, but I enjoy a good happy ending. But do I like the movie? Let's talk about it. I'll give this movie a 7.7 out of 10. Scenes at the weddings are in the beginning of the movie are good times, as it's kind of funny, but it's not laugh out loud hilarious in my opinion. But I do like the characters, as the actress portraying their characters was relatable, and it feels like a typical R-rated raunchy humor from the 2000s, but it's better than most of the R-rated raunchy humor bullshit of a movie from the past 15 years. It works as an R-rated comedy, and Bradley Cooper's a pretty good actor as both good and bad guys, as he plays a pretty well bad guy, and Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn are a good comedic team, and this movie is inappropriate, but that's what makes this pretty funny to me. It makes some strange choices to make people laugh like myself, as this made me chuckle, and this is a recommendation for this movie, as the cinematography surprisingly doesn't look that bad. I like the way this movie was shot, and admittedly, it's a little too long of a movie, as some of this could have been edited down, but the chemistry by the actors works well, and that holds the movie together well for me. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this review, and there's rumors that there's a sequel coming. I just don't know when it's coming, but until then, don't crash weddings, kids.